नई दिल्ली के होटल इंपीरियल में जनाग्रह और रेनमैटर फाउंडेशन ने भारत में शहरी प्रणाली के वार्षिक सर्वेक्षण एनुअल सर्वे ऑफ इंडियन सिटीज सिस्टम ASICS 2023 रिपोर्ट का छठा संस्करण आवास एवं शहरी मामले और पेट्रोलियम एवं प्राकृतिक गैस मंत्री श्री हरदीप सिंह पुरी के करकमलों द्वारा आयोजित एक कार्यक्रम में जारी। अस्सलामु अलैकुम, मैं ज़मीर अहमद अंसारी और आप देख रहे हैं जेड न्यूज़ फॉर यू। अर्ज यह है कि आपने अपने चैनल जेड न्यूज़ फॉर यू को अभी तक सब्सक्राइब नहीं किया है तो सब्सक्राइब करें और साथ में दिए हुए बेल आइकन को भी दबाएं, जिससे हमारी आने वाली सभी वीडियोस के नोटिफिकेशन सबसे पहले आपको मिल सकें। 2014 से शहरी विकास में 18 लाख करोड़ रुपए का निवेश किया गया है। श्री हरदीप सिंह पुरी। शहरी स्थानीय निकायों ULB को अधिक वित्तीय संसाधन और क्षमता निर्माण तक पहुंच प्रदान करने और बड़े पैमाने पर मिशन को आगे बढ़ाने के लिए उपाय किए गए। श्री हरदीप सिंह पुरी। महापौरों और नगर पार्षदों को सशक्त बनाने की आवश्यकता है। उन्होंने स्थानीय स्तर पर वैश्विक कार्यों के संचालन की क्षमता का सफलतापूर्वक प्रदर्शन किया है। श्री हरदीप सिंह पुरी। भारत में शहरी प्रणालियों पर वार्षिक सर्वेक्षण ASICS रिपोर्ट ने भारतीय शहरों में स्थानीय शासन का पहला राष्ट्रव्यापी विश्लेषण प्रदान किया और तब से नागरिक केंद्रित सोच के माध्यम से शहर आधारित विश्लेषण और नगर पालिका प्रदर्शन के मूल्यांकन के दायरे का विस्तार किया गया है। आवास एवं शहरी मामले और पेट्रोलियम एवं प्राकृतिक गैस मंत्री श्री हरदीप सिंह पुरी ने कहा कि इस ASICS रिपोर्ट ने भारतीय शहरों में स्थानीय शासन का पहला राष्ट्रव्यापी विश्लेषण प्रदान किया और तब से नागरिक केंद्रित सोच से शहर आधारित विश्लेषण और नगर पालिका प्रदर्शन के मूल्यांकन के दायरे का विस्तार किया गया है। मंत्री महोदय ने आज नई दिल्ली के होटल इंपीरियल में जनाग्रह और रेनमैटर फाउंडेशन द्वारा से आयोजित एक कार्यक्रम में भारत में शहर प्रणाली के वार्षिक सर्वेक्षण अर्थात एनुअल सर्वे ऑफ इंडियन सिटीज सिस्टम ASICS 2023 रिपोर्ट का छठा संस्करण जारी किया। इस रिपोर्ट को एक सावधानी पूर्वक किया गया सराहनीय प्रयास बताते हुए मंत्री महोदय ने कहा कि इस रिपोर्ट में भारत में शहरी विकास के संबंधित डेटा सेट से संबद्ध 82 नगरपालिका विधान, 44 शहर और देश नियोजन अधिनियम 176 संबद्ध अधिनियम, नियम और अधिसूचनाएं, 32 अन्य नीति योजना दस्तावेज और 27 अतिरिक्त का अध्ययन शामिल है। इस रिपोर्ट में की गई 10 प्रमुख अनुशंसा के संबंध में मंत्री महोदय ने कहा कि परिवर्तन के ये 10 साधन शहरी प्रशासन में विकेंद्रीकरण और हस्तांतरण के सिद्धांतों को और गहरा करने के साथ ही 74वें संवैधानिक संशोधन अधिनियम की भावना भी पुनर्जीवित कर सकते हैं। श्री पुरी ने कहा कि रिपोर्ट में शहरी प्रशासन में विकेंद्रीकरण और हस्तांतरण के इस एजेंडे की दिशा में काम करने के लिए प्रधानमंत्री श्री नरेंद्र मोदी के दूरदर्शी नेतृत्व के अंतर्गत सरकार द्वारा उठाए गए अभूतपूर्व कार्यों को स्वीकार किया गया। उन्होंने 13वें वित्त आयोग से 15वें वित्त आयोग तक शहरी स्थानीय निकायों अर्बन लोकल बॉडीज ULB को वित्त आयोग के अनुदान में 6 गुना वृद्धि का उल्लेख किया। उन्होंने जोर देकर कहा कि 15वें वित्त आयोग में 10 लाख से अधिक जनसंख्या वाले शहरी समूह और अन्य शहरों के बीच अंतर किया है, जिसमें वायु गुणवत्ता, जल आपूर्ति और स्वच्छता के लिए प्रोत्साहन के साथ 50 शहरी समूहों को लगभग 38,196 करोड़ रुपए का 100% परिणाम आधारित वित्त पोषण उपलब्ध कराया गया है। उन्होंने आगे कहा कि अमृत AMRUT कार्यक्रम में शहरी स्थानीय निकायों ULBS में ऐसे 11 अनिवार्य सुधारों की स्थापना की, जिसमें शहरों की साख में सुधार, नगरपालिका बांडों का संचालन और नगरपालिका कैडर का व्यवसायीकरण शामिल है। उन्होंने जोर देकर कहा कि 12 शहर पहले ही नगरपालिका बांड के माध्यम से 4,384 रुपए से अधिक जुटा चुके हैं। सरकार ने भवन उपनियमों के आधुनिकीकरण जैसे शहरी नियोजन सुधार को शुरू करने, हस्तांतरणीय विकास अधिकारों को अपनाने, प्राकृतिक आधारित संस्थानों के माध्यम से हरित बुनियादी ढांचे का एकीकरण, यथा स्थान पुनर्वास के माध्यम से लागत प्रभावी आवास, भू-स्थानिक सूचना प्रणाली आधारित मास्टर प्लानिंग और ऑनलाइन भवन स्वीकृति प्रणाली, ऑनलाइन बिल्डिंग परमिशन सिस्टम OBPS जैसे शहरी नियोजन सुधारों को शुरू करने के लिए अभूतपूर्व मात्रा में धन वितरित किया है। हमारे शहरों को चुनौती के स्थान पर एक अवसर के रूप में स्वीकारते हुए श्री पुरी ने कहा कि प्रधानमंत्री ने भारत के शहरी विकास प्रतिमान पैराडाइम में एक क्रांति ला दी है। उन्होंने जोर देकर कहा कि हमारे शहरों और कस्बों के परिवर्तन में 2014 से 18 लाख करोड़ रुपए से अधिक का निवेश किया गया है। मंत्री महोदय ने कहा कि 2014 के बाद से सरकार ने विश्व में कहीं भी सबसे व्यापक एवं योजनाबद्ध शहरीकरण कार्यक्रम शुरू किया है। उन्होंने प्रधानमंत्री आवास योजना, PMAY, शहरी स्वच्छता भारत मिशन, शहरी अमृत स्मार्ट सिटीज मिशन, प्रधानमंत्री PM स्वनिधि SVA निधि मिशन और दीनदयाल अंत्योदय योजना, राष्ट्रीय आजीविका मिशन DAY NULM जैसी पहलों मिशनों के बारे में चर्चा की, जो कि शहरी क्षेत्रों की वृद्धि और विकास में परिवर्तनकारी सिद्ध हुए हैं। मंत्री महोदय ने कहा कि प्रधानमंत्री आवास योजना PMAY शहरी के अंतर्गत लगभग 1.19 करोड़ घरों को स्वीकृति दी गई है। उन्होंने कहा 1.13 करोड़ से अधिक घरों का निर्माण पहले ही पूरा हो चुका है। 77 लाख घरों को आवंटित किया जा चुका है। स्वच्छ भारत मिशन शहरी के बारे में मंत्री महोदय ने कहा कि इस मिशन से पूरे भारत में स्वच्छता के प्रति व्यवहार में बदलाव आया है। सॉलिड वेस्ट प्रोसेसिंग 2014 में 17% बढ़कर आज 76% हो गया है। उन्होंने आने वाले वर्षों में 100% अपशिष्टीकरण पर संस्करण हासिल करने का विश्वास व्यक्त किया। मंत्री महोदय ने कहा कि अमृत AMRUT ने 1.72 करोड़ से अधिक जल नल कनेक्शन और 1.35 करोड़ सीवर कनेक्शन प्रदान करके 500 शहरों में पानी और सीवरेज जैसे सामाजिक बुनियादी ढांचे का समाधान किया है। उन्होंने कहा कि अब अमृत 2.0 हमारे शहरों के जल सुरक्षित बनाने की आकांक्षा से आगे बढ़ने का लक्ष्य चल रहा है। स्मार्ट सिटी मिशन के अंतर्गत उन्होंने कहा कि 1.1 लाख करोड़ रुपए से अधिक की 6069 परियोजनाओं का काम पूरा हो चुका है। मंत्री महोदय ने इस बात पर प्रकाश डाला कि वर्तमान में हमारे पास लगभग 871 किलोमीटर लंबी मेट्रो लाइन के साथ दुनिया का 5वां सबसे बड़ा मेट्रो नेटवर्क है और 905 किलोमीटर मेट्रो नेटवर्क के निर्माण के बाद मंत्री महोदय ने इस बात पर प्रकाश डाला कि वर्तमान में हमारे पास लगभग 871 किलोमीटर लंबी मेट्रो लाइन के साथ दुनिया का 5वां सबसे बड़ा मेट्रो नेटवर्क है और 905 किलोमीटर मेट्रो नेटवर्क के निर्माण के बाद भारत विश्व का दूसरा सबसे बड़ा मेट्रो नेटवर्क बन गया है। उन्होंने आगे कहा कि दीनदयाल अंत्योदय योजना, राष्ट्रीय आजीविका मिशन DAY NULM के अंतर्गत 34.2 लाख से अधिक आजीविकाओं का सृजन किया गया है। इस मिशन में 14.9 लाख उम्मीदवारों को कौशल प्रशिक्षण प्रदान किया। शहरी क्षेत्रों का आकांक्षा और अवसर के स्थान के रूप में उल्लेख करते हुए मंत्री महोदय ने कहा कि शहर आर्थिक विकास और नवाचार के केंद्र, भारत के अधिकांश आर्थिक प्रगति उसके शहर की उत्पादकता में निहित है। उन्होंने कहा कि हमारे शहर में विद्यमान उच्च विकास की संभावनाओं का दोहन करने के लिए हमारे शहरी स्थानीय निकायों पर ध्यान केंद्रित करने की आवश्यकता है, जो हमारे क्षेत्रों के लिए शासन पर प्राथमिक इंटरफेस है। उन्होंने कहा कि ULB नागरिकों को अपनी समस्याओं एवं विषयों का सामना लाने के लिए राजनीतिक अवसर प्रदान करते हैं।
longest serving urban and housing and urban affairs minister. It's also that you have brought to bear a lot more money from 8,000 crores to over 40,000 crores, 47,000 crores. That's a 500% increase in the amount of funds that has come during your tenure. So, before I come to what inspired and what were your goals when you got that money, my first question is, why don't you give us a headline, sir? The government is going to continue with a subsidy program, a credit-linked subvention program for housing. So as housing and urban affairs, can we expect that program very quickly? I think it's for the poor. It is low-income housing, affordable housing.
I think the headline has already come. I think the Honorable Prime Minister, when he was speaking from the addressing the nation from the red parts of the red fort, he spoke about 2 crore, 2 crore DDs, Lakpati DDs, okay? Then he spoke about several other things, and this interest subvention was, I think, one of these schemes. It's at a very advanced stage of finalization. You know, whenever we send something to the Ministry of Finance, what is it called? Expenditure Finance Commission. It somehow gets out. So the figure is already in the marketplace, but being a disciplined civil servant, I won't use it till it's finally clear. But I think you should recall that the interest subvention scheme was actually part of our Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. We had AHP, which was Affordable Housing in Partnership, where state government gives some money, center and state then give a little bit of money to. That scheme's done very well. You had beneficiary-led construction, which is you had a traditional family property, then state government or central government gives some money. Then you had in-situ slum rehabilitation, all that. And you had what is called CLSS, Credit-Linked Subsidy Scheme, which was for included the middle income group. So I think the discussion in the government in the last few weeks has been what should be the coverage, what should be the floor space for which it should be given, whether what is the amount should be given. But you're absolutely right. I think the scheme has been announced, and I think it's only a matter of time before it's the details are officially out of the time.
So should we expect it in a couple of months, in a couple of
weeks? No, even earlier.
And is it likely to be, I think the previous, the CLSS was a subvention for 9 lakhs, a maximum of 9 lakhs.
I am going to resist the temptation to go into those details. As I said, I think some of them have already put these details out into the public domain, but it's not correct for a serving minister to get into it till the announcement is made. But you're on the right track. It'll cover a large number of people. It'll be a interest subvention. Up to a particular point, and then floor areas defined, etc. I think they were finalizing.
Okay, and it's, I believe, for 5 years, but some of it will come this year itself.
I don't see any point in any scheme which comes after 5 years. Everything has to come now.
No, the whole 60,000.
No. I am not getting into the figures whether it's 60,000 crores or 20,000 or 200,000. I'm not getting into that.
Okay. The other scheme that was very interesting, and I'm trying to relate both urban affairs and housing, and that's why my questions are intersecting both, was the rental accommodation that was sought to be subsidized.
That's earlier, rental housing, affordable rental housing. See, I'll explain to you what happened. When the schemes were conceptualized and implemented in June 2015, it was strongly anchored in whatever the demand we received, and you designed a scheme. But as you went along, some changes came. Like the COVID pandemic, you had to look at the problem of street vendors, because people who were working in agriculture were still given their food, they still got some money, even if and the rural areas were not, there was no shutdown of the kind that the urban space had. Equally, when the pandemic took place, a lot of people just left work and went back home. They got used to the idea and some didn't want to come back. So suddenly a need was felt to work out a scheme for affordable rental housing. And that scheme has taken off. It's a action by the central government, by the state governments, by the private sector. It has different verticals, but it's doing well.
We didn't get any follow-through for that. So I just wanted to know if you have any numbers that seemed to be an admirable combination of.
I have the numbers. I can share the numbers or send them to you. I have them
But
in that
it is
big
still one of the pillars of.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You see, let me start by saying, Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana is conceptually designed to emanate from the states. So if you are a resident of Bihar, you obviously will apply for a Awas in your place of residence, or if you are from Assam, from there. Then the state government puts together the demand and sends it to the center. The Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs has a committee headed by the Secretary, Housing and Urban Affairs, which is called a Committee for Monitoring and Sanctioning of Projects. They meet every month and then sanction those under different verticals. The problem is the person who leaves his home, let's say wherever it is, and comes to work, say, in another state, the benefit of the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana will be there. He or she meanwhile still needs a place to live in. Therefore, building complexes for migrant labor, for rental housing, for people who are coming to look for jobs, it's designed to fill one of those gaps. This credit-linked subsidy schemes has another purpose. If you are a young professional, you come into the employment market, husband and wife, they want to take a loan, they don't have the resources, so the government steps in with a bit of a filler in terms of interest subvention.
No, I get a point. It's just that, at least at that time in 2020, we thought this rental urban is such a good idea because, I mean, migrant.
Let I tell you something. Good ideas, I can tell you, the proof of it is the pudding is in the eating. What happened then was you had massive amounts of inventories. Okay, for a variety of reasons. And pre-RERA, what happened? So a lot of people, there was completely buildings lying empty. 2-3 things are happening. Inventories are coming down rapidly. Land values are shooting up. The sales are going up every quarter, 20, 25, 27%. So there is a rationalization taking place in that. So rental housing also, I mean, there are some aberrations still. I mean, the cost of buying a property and the rent you get from it
It's not very
it must be mismatched, but that is liable to happen because of the journey we undertook in that.
So now let me come to what you spoke about, empowerment and mayors. Now that's not something which has been a uniform experience. In fact, one of the annual surveys findings is that empowerment of mayors and councils has not at all been what was envisaged by the 74th Constitutional Amendment Act. So, in your experience, it looks like very often the state governments do not want to give up, and that perhaps impedes the empowerment of the urban bodies. Can you give us some examples where you have been able to work with state governments to empower urban bodies?
I wouldn't want to sit here and do finger pointing, frankly. But what you're saying is an understatement. I'm on your side on this. But there's no purpose served for me. I think for any of us, I spent a career of 39 years in the foreign service. I lived in many cities which can rightfully boast of the mayor being a very important part of the political system. I mean, Giuliani in New York, he cleaned up the law and order situation. I can give you examples from Tokyo, London, very famous mayor. I think two fundamental prerequisites in this are you need a proper tenure for the mayor. So I have a situation where I have one of my favorite mayors is somebody I call the pistol Rani of Kanpur. I'm giving you an example. She has a pistol here. She rides a scooter. And everybody knows the mayor. She's got authority. She goes to different places. She's correct. She has a longer tenure than most. But you have mayors in Delhi which their tenures end before they start. So we need to work towards stable tenures, then giving the mayors the authority. Who is to blame in this? They will require a closed-door seminar. One is you don't blame the state government because the state government also wants delivery. Now, if you appreciate and comprehend the importance of the role of the mayor, then political parties must also ensure that they are putting people in there who can do that. Equally, I think, whilst everybody is committed to a set of objectives, I think they would want to be very careful that they don't reach that do that implementation till they're ready with the instrument. So it's work in progress.
I'm glad to hear that, because ultimately empowerment at urban body.
But you also have empowerment of women in mind, don't you?
Oh, I do.
Most of these mayors, many of them are ladies. So I think when they've got 33.13% reservation in the state assemblies and in the central parliament, I know this was on the side, but I see that happening. A lot of women are making very effective ladies, are very effective mayors.
Yes.
I mean,
and more sensitive things. More than
that could open up a debate. I would agree with you since I'm a feminist personally, but being married to one, but otherwise.
Fair enough. So the final thing I wanted to ask you was that you're also the energy minister, the petroleum minister, and piped gas is something that that has been at the heart of government's working. Now, Janagraha has this tender-sure set of guidelines, which has gone into detail on how you must have duct-wise under footpath lanes, so that you don't keep on digging out footpaths. At least in Mumbai, from metros to gas connections to telecom fibers, everybody's digging out.
That's part of Gati Shakti. You have to dig up only once. Look,
so I assume that your smart city program have been influenced by what Janagraha has done in terms of...
I paid them an open tribute. We've been influenced. We talked to them. I said we have sessions with them. And I don't think I've done this very often, but where is my friend... No, Ramesh is there. There he is. He and I have co-authored pieces together. I talked to Ramesh, So, take that as a given. I started with that. I'll also read out that yellow slip my researcher said to speak about that. I said it in my own way, but I think there's genuine appreciation when somebody is doing good work. But I want, since you brought up the LNG pipeline, look, we just had the 12th bidding round the other day with the regulator. We are now taking it, we had earlier 98% of the population covered, 88% of the geographical area covered, we're taking it to 100% now. What has happened is that laying a pipeline is not difficult. Taking a pipeline to a reasonably congested place and having dispersal is not difficult because you have a big building. The problem is in some of our rural areas, particularly in the northeast, where the consumer is widely distributed over a period of time. We want to complete that. But since we were going into 100% completion, I added my little contribution to it. I said, now don't rest at 100%. Now we take the pipeline to the island areas also. So that's work in progress. Some of our targets earlier were not easy to fill. I'll give you 2 or 3 statistics quickly before we conclude. We had LPG cylinders. We had 14 crore connections in 2014. Lata, we've taken those up to 32 or 33 crores. Pipe gas. By the way, pipe gas is about 22% cheaper than the cylinder gas. So, plus it's easier in many other respects. We had about 25 lakh consumers. Today we have more than 1 crore consumers. And we have done the infrastructure laying. Some of the areas, you see, it was an experience which is still ongoing. A lot of people accepted the obligation, but they were slow in complying. And the kind of measures we had put in place in the original contracts for compliance were not sufficiently punitive to hold out a pressure. We are correcting on that.
Thank you very much, Mr. Minister. I think I've taken more time than I should have. Let me just conclude with a personal agenda. I think the metros came to Mumbai 50 years too late. If you can use your
You mean the metro transport?
Absolutely. The metro transport.
I mean, you should have elected a BJP government before 2002. That's when it all started. And my answer to metro success elsewhere is this is the way to go.
Well, sir, from 2002 to 2023, we are still...
No, wait a minute.
No, I'm just giving you my personal advice. If you can speed it up.
I entirely agree with you. I'll tell you, there are 2 things that when you talk about urban transport on the metro thing, it's a clean, efficient transportation. It's environmentally friendly, number 1. Number 2, today, Lata, you asked the question, so I'm going to try and... We have more than 1 crore ridership per day. 1 crore per day in metros. Delhi pre-pandemic, the height was something like 65 lakhs. And today we have crossed that after the pandemic. But let me give you a perspective. In India, something like 60 million people go to the petrol station every day to fill up. Just imagine if you did not have a metro, how many that would be, number one. So absolutely good transport policy means moving people around, not moving cars around. For that you need, we're going to have an inauguration of an RRTS in the next 2 or 3 days. Metro lines are coming up. As I said, we have 870 kilometers, but another 900 plus kilometers is coming up. We will have the world's second largest metro system. But you know, I can't gaze into the future. But if you have, let's say, a $20 trillion plus economy by 2040 or thereabouts, I'm sure people would want, and especially if you have last mile connectivity from when you get off at the station to where you have to go, it's far better to be having modern urban transport in the form of metro lines, and especially in the bigger cities, I think Mumbai, Bengaluru, Hyderabad, Chennai, and that experience is being borne out. But equally, I think you must start by considering metro projects are capital intensive. So if you have friends of the kind I have in Delhi politics, who will say, sir, pollution kam ho jayegi, isko mufat kar do. Mufat to kar do, but you still have to pay back the 28,000 crores. Which is, so now all the metro system, in my assessment, and I choose my words carefully, they're all running in an economically viable way, and they are performing their job, and we're able to pay back our loans.
Thank you very much, Mr.
Thank you. Thank you.
For taking time out despite a very packed schedule this evening. We look forward